Welcome back. Well, in today's labor market, you might not need a bachelor's degree to work your way up the ladder and land a strong job. A new index measures which companies are most likely to create economic mobility for workers without college degrees. Joining us now, we want to bring in Matt Sigelman. He's president of the Burning Glass Institute for today's installment of Career Control, which is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Matt, it's great to see you. So let's get into the index and what you found. The American Opportunity Index, you revealed which large companies are doing it best in terms of advancing workers in the workplace. What did you find?
Well, Seana, what we found is that where you work matters a lot for whether you move ahead in your career. We constructed an index to be able to essentially create a yardstick for the American dream. A lot of us are concerned about intergenerational mobility. In other words, do you do better than your parents? If you were born in the 1940s, about 90+% of people were going to do better than their parents. If you're born in the 1980s, that was down to at best even odds. And so what we wanted to look at is the role that companies play in facilitating mobility for their workers. We tracked 3 million workers of the Fortune 250 over 5 years from 2017 to 2021. And we looked at how they progressed, both within their companies and beyond their companies.
And who are the companies that did best? Are they concentrated in particular sectors?
So it was actually very interesting to see how broad spread good practice is. If you look at the top companies, you're looking at folks like AT&T on the one hand, Amex, you're looking at Cisco, but also companies like PG&E, Southwest Airlines, International Paper. Across the top 50 companies in America in terms of their creating opportunity for workers, they represented 21 of the 27 industries that we tracked.
And Matt, when you take a look at pay, how critical that is, transparency there, what did you find in terms of that with the companies that ranked in your top 10?
So we were pretty gobsmacked at just how much difference there is for workers in pay. Now, first of all, I should say that when everything we looked at based upon what role you're in, right? You don't want to compare people who are software engineers with people who are working retail roles. But even for, let's take an admin working at a top quintile company, when the company's doing best, is making 2.5 times an admin at a company in the bottom quintile. Just to put real dollars on that, that's the difference between making $82,000 a year and $34,000 a year. Over the course of your career, that's $1.5 million.
I'm just curious, are those companies that where employees have upward mobility, are they finding more success?
This matters a lot, not just for workers, but for companies as well. One of the metrics that we looked at was how much retention benefit there is. So ultimately for workers, that matters because you got to be in it to win it. If you don't stick around, then it's hard to move ahead. But we found that companies that were in the top quintile of retention were twice as likely to keep workers over the span of 5 years. At a time when so many companies are scrambling for talent, the ability to literally double the length of service that you have, the length of relationship you have with employer with employee, can make a profound difference from business impact.
Matt, I'm curious, did you see any difference or a theme at all just in terms of flexibility when it comes to working from home versus working in the office, or maybe having that hybrid schedule? Did that at all play into maybe the success that some companies have in retaining that top talent?
So worker flexibility is something that is really important in terms of worker opportunity and worker mobility. But I want to sort of emphasize that it's not just something that you do because it's good for workers. In the same way that helping people stick around longer is good for workers, it's good for employers. When you provide flexibility, it turns out that's a lot of the reason why workers stay, particularly when we talk about industries like retail or industries that have big frontline workforces. Think about, a lot of retailers have literally 150% staff turnover a year. It's just tremendous amount of effort that it takes to feed that machine. A lot of workers at that level are leaving for reasons of schedule. They're leaving for reasons of convenience. So if you can address that up front, you can make a significant impact in terms of the kind of relationship you have with your workers on the one side and their ability to move up on the other.
So when we talk about flexibility, is the desire when they work or where they work?
Well, there's a little bit of both. Let's remember that we're talking here in the index, we focused on the kind of jobs that are open to those without college degrees. That doesn't just mean frontline workers. It's also finance managers, a bunch of other jobs where some people have a degree, some people don't. But the further south you go along the level of educational attainment that someone has, the more likely they are to be working in a job where they don't have a choice. If you're stocking shelves at a big retailer, you can't work by Zoom. If you're a phlebotomist working at a big healthcare company, you can't work by Zoom. So location matters, but the ability to set shifts, the ability to have flexibility in other dimensions of work assignments makes a big difference.
Important stuff right there. Matt Sigelman, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.